and welcome to yet another episode of Judge of Character. As always, I'm your host, Steve, and tonight, in continuing with my month-long celebration of Halloween, I'm going to be talking about Halloween-related specials and movies. Like Christmas, when October rolls around, TV gets hit on the spirit. Channels like Fox, Disney, and ABC Family start advertising their Halloween programming, while channels like HBO and Showtime start cranking out the horror movies. And tonight I'm going to be counting down my top 10 favorites. These are the films and specials that are required viewing when October rolls around. When any of these come on, I simply have to watch them, no excuses. As always, this is simply my top 10 favorites. If you don't agree, then tough titty. You don't like it? Go make your own top 10 list. This is my show we're running here. Number 10. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Generally speaking, I don't really watch anything Peanuts related. It's just not my cup of tea. But this is the one exception I'll make. I'm not sure why, but whenever this comes on, I simply have to watch it. Perhaps it's the way it seems to capture the spirit of Halloween you feel as a kid, or maybe it's seeing the characters do their usual thing in Halloween setting. Whatever it is, I always catch this in October. But there's one thing that's always bothered me. And what is the deal with the Great Pumpkin anyway? How did Linus even come up with such a concept? I mean, certainly he's heard of Santa Claus, right? It's the same type of person doing the exact same thing. The only difference is that one does it 2 months earlier. Linus, you devious little greedy son of a bitch. I like it. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. A classic Halloween staple.
Oh, you didn't tell me you were gonna kill it.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Number 9. Halloween Town. I stopped watching Disney Channel ages ago. Now I only tune in when something good is on, and this is one of them. Halloween Town tells the story of a young girl who finds out she's a witch, and that all of the monsters and ghouls you've ever heard about are real, and that they all live in an alternate dimension called Halloween Town, where they go to the dentist and do all the normal things we do. Okay. Actually, this makes for a pretty good premise. It's interesting seeing all these classic monsters and horrors just doing the 9-to-5 thing. Much like Charlie Brown, I think the reason that I enjoy this film is because it captures the spirit of Halloween, mainly the lighter side of things. Halloween is a fun holiday, and here we're seeing a world that celebrates it all the time. While the story isn't that new or amazing, it's still a good film that I always try to catch when it comes on. And I'm not the only one who thinks it's a good film. A lot of people enjoyed it, considering that Disney made 3 sequels with a new one every year. Although the original, to me, is the best. And no, we're not going to talk about that whole recasting thing. Nice try, Disney. What? Did you really think we wouldn't notice, Disney? Halloween Town, one of the few Disney Channel original movies I still watch.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Number 8. Trick or Treat. Like Peanuts, I generally don't watch anything by Rob Zombie. It's not that I'm not a fan, I just don't find them that interesting. Except for this film. Trick or Treat is an anthology film showing 4 different Halloween-related tales, all of them connected by Sam, a little guy who was essentially the spirit of Samhain, or one of the Gaelic origins of Halloween, for those of you who do not know. This essentially makes Sam the spirit of Halloween itself, which makes the stories in this film a lot more interesting. What's great about this movie, even though it really isn't that scary, is that the stories are actually really good. It's like watching something straight out of Tales from the Crypt, which I'll be talking about shortly. One of the most memorable moments in the film involves Anna Paquin as... well, I don't want to spoil it for you, but rest assured, it's actually a pretty good twist.
What a twist!
Another thing about this film is how the stories are interconnected. Several times throughout the film, you'll see different characters from other stories making a brief appearance. While the movie isn't perfect, it doesn't really need to be. It's one of those films you watch because it's entertaining, because it's just pure horror, as well as being a love letter to Halloween. If you've never seen it, give it a look-see. You might be surprised to find yourself watching it every October.
Tonight is about respecting the customs, not breaking them.
Number 7. Creepshow. Like Trick or Treat, Creepshow is an anthology film. But unlike Trick or Treat, Creepshow can at times be genuinely scary. Not every story is like this, however, as the lonesome death of Geordie Verrill will show you, but there's a couple that, when I first saw them, scared the crap out of me. I still can't watch They're Creeping Up on You without cringing a little bit. While the effects haven't aged very well over the years, this being made in the 80s, Creepshow is still a very solid movie. Written by Stephen King, directed by George A. Romero, and starring fantastic actors like Leslie Nielsen, who is at his scariest here, Creepshow is a must-see. Especially when it's All Hallows Eve.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Number 6. Tales from the Crypt, the original movie. Most of the time, when you're thinking about Tales from the Crypt, you're thinking about this guy.
Tales from the Crypt.
Yes, him. But a lot of people tend to forget, or don't even realize, that there was a film of Tales from the Crypt long before the HBO show ever came around. While the show was creepy, with some humor salted in for balance, this film, which premiered in 1972, is nothing but horror. Much like the previous 2 films on this list, Tales from the Crypt is an anthology film, only this time the stories are all about how the 5 main characters actually died. The stories are done in traditional Tales from the Crypt style. 3 of the stories involve assholes who did something horrible in life and get their comeuppance in the end for their misdeeds, such as the retirement home owner who made budget cuts so he could live like a king. He gets killed by the old folks he was hurting. However, the most horrifying story involves greed, and an artifact that bears quite a bit of resemblance in nature to the monkey's paw. A couple are near the brink of financial ruin, but come across a Chinese figurine said to grant wishes. Naturally, the greedy SOBs wish for a large fortune, and they get a call from the lawyer saying that they've come into some money. However, along the way to collect it, the man dies and his widow gets money from his life insurance policy, the fortune she wished for. The wife then wishes for her husband to come back, just as he was before the wreck, which leads to a group of men bringing his corpse into the house. Using her final wish, she wishes to revive him. However, she finds out too late that he's been embalmed, so when he comes back, he's in incredible pain. She tries to kill him again, but because of her wishing for him to live forever, all she has accomplished is making her husband a living corpse of many pieces. At first, this is a horrifying thing to think about, but once you actually apply some logic to it, it starts to become less scary. I mean, think about this for a second. She wished for him to come back as he was before he died, which means technically he shouldn't have been embalmed. So how'd that happen? And more importantly, if he is essentially an immortal zombie now, how does he end up in the crypt later as a ghost? It doesn't make any sense. Well, despite some lapses in plot, this is still a really freaky movie, one that should be seen every October. Tales from the Crypt, from the same people who brought you Mad Magazine. No, seriously.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Number 5. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors. It's just not Halloween until the Simpsons do their annual Treehouse of Horror. While the writers of the show may hate doing them, the fans absolutely love the Treehouse of Horrors. Every year since 1990, The Simpsons has had a Treehouse of Horror. Inspired by the old EC Comics horror staples, such as Tales from the Crypt, a Treehouse of Horror episode is a short anthology episode. Jesus, what's with the anthologies on this list? Anyway, it should come as no surprise that the Treehouse of Horror episodes are the highest rated episodes every season. They're just so damn funny. Whether it's Homer traveling through time via a toaster, or the Simpsons fighting off the zombie apocalypse, these episodes are some of the best stuff. Oh, and that zombie story led to what is considered to be the funniest line to ever come out of a Halloween episode.
Mind if I chew your ear?
Dad, you killed the zombie Flanders.
He was a zombie?
Oh, it never gets old. Play it again.
Mind if I chew your ear?
Dad, you killed the zombie Flanders.
He was a zombie?
I love it.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Number 4. Hocus Pocus. Let's face it, if you grew up at any point in the 90s, then this movie was an essential part of your childhood. And admit it, you probably still watch it around Halloween just as much as I do, if not more. And let's face it, it's just not Halloween unless you watch Hocus Pocus. The plot of the film revolves around 3 witches, the Sanderson sisters, who were killed during the Salem witch trials, but before dying, placed a curse, saying that a virgin would bring them back, and they would cause chaos. 300 years later, teenager Max Dennison brings the sisters back as he attempts to impress the lady he wants to lose his virginity to. Our hero, everyone. Leave it to a horny virgin to bring a few dead witches back to life and put the whole safety of the world at risk. Thanks a lot, ass. This is simply a classic film. It's funny, it has a few scary moments for little kids, and overall it's well acted and paced. Besides the few strange moments and characters, namely those bullies, this is a classic Halloween film everyone should watch. It's also one of the few times that Sarah Jessica Parker was ever actually hot. Ooh, I'm going to have nightmares about that for the rest of the week.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Number 3. Halloween. Oh, come on, you really think I'd do a Halloween film countdown and not include this? Seriously! Halloween is the beta slasher film, preceded by Texas Chainsaw Massacre and followed by Friday the 13th. The plot involves a young man named Michael Myers, no, not him, brutally murdering his older sister on Halloween night. He gets sent to an insane asylum, which he breaks out of 15 years later, wreaking havoc and killing multiple people. This is one of the first horror movies to start the trend of slasher films that would become prevalent in the 80s, and considering its title, it's pretty obvious that this is a classic film to watch on All Hallows Eve. Fun fact, did you actually know that that mask is based off of the face of William Shatner? Try watching your Star Trek now.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Number 2. Friday the 13th. Oh, come on, don't tell me you didn't see that one coming. Technically, this is one I watch at any point in the year, but it's absolutely required when October rolls around. For those of you who don't know, all 3 of you, Friday the 13th involves a bunch of young teens getting murdered in brutal ways while attending a summer camp. And that's about it. It's actually a little bit more complex than that, but you don't really need to worry about it. All you need to worry about is the gore. All of the lovely gore. Originally, this film was meant to be a sort of pot warmer for the writers to work on while they were getting ready to work on the big project, some sort of soccer TV show. However, Friday the 13th proved to be so immensely popular that the show never got picked up, thus securing Friday the 13th's place in cinematic history, and making it one of my favorite films. Of course, this is... After all, it's number 2 on the list. How could you not tell it was one of my favorites? While some argue which was the first pure slasher film, Halloween or Friday the 13th, or even something even earlier than that, I'm going to have to say Friday. While Halloween has many of the same elements and tropes found in slasher films, Halloween is slightly scarier and more tense. Friday is pure death all the way through, and it works. While it may not be scary now, Friday the 13th is still a must-see for any horror or slasher film. And don't forget, when planning to send your kids off to summer camp for fun and games, don't forget to consider Camp Crystal Lake. It's fun you'll die of, and that's the truth. And my number one favorite Halloween movie or special is The Monster Squad. I could only imagine how many of you actually even know of this movie. For those of you who do, congratulations, your childhood was awesome. For those of you who don't, I am so sorry. Monster Squad is probably one of the greatest examples of a cult classic besides Rocky Horror Picture Show. The film involves a group of kids who are huge fans of monster movies fighting the actual monsters themselves. The film includes the Wolfman, the Mummy, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Frankenstein's monster, all led by Count Dracula himself. Now some of you might be wondering why I decided to put this film over such hits like Friday the 13th and Halloween. Well, the answer is simple, really. To me, this film best encapsulates everything that Halloween is meant to be. It's funny, it can be scary, and just about everyone can enjoy it. But more importantly, how many other movies do you know of that actually manage to feature all of the classic horror movie monsters? Besides that piece of crap. Monster Squad has the perfect blend of comedy and horror. When Dracula pulls out his fangs, it's terrifying. But those moments of terror are tempered by moments like this. Funniest line in a horror movie ever. Seriously though, if you've never seen this movie, go watch it. Now, it's on DVD and Blu-ray, so you have no excuse. I promise you will love it. And that's it, boils and ghouls. My top 10 favorite Halloween-related specials and movies. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I certainly hope that you found something on this list that you may not have seen before, but you're definitely going to go check out in the very near future. Perhaps even start watching it around Halloween. In any case, stick around for more Halloween-related fun here on Judge of Character. I'm your host, Steve, reminding all of you to stay in character.